My name is Dr. Ernest Azudialu-Obiejesi, the chairman of Nestoil.
Nestoil has been around for over 30 years.
The daughter of billionaire businessman and philanthropist Ernest Azudialu-Obiejesi, fondly known as Obi Jackson, put Forbes-listed billionaire Femi Otedola on blast on June 3, 2026. In a viral social media post, Nnenna accused Otedola of being jealous of her father's iconic Nestoil headquarters in Victoria Island, Lagos, and allegedly trying to use political influence to acquire it at all costs. According to Nnenna, Otedola does not understand what it means to build a lasting legacy. The fashion influencer wrote that legacy goes beyond riding bicycles abroad and paying blogs to publicize wealth. Kenechukwu Azudialu-Obiejesi, fondly known as Nnenna's outburst, came shortly after a consortium of lenders, including FBN Quest Merchant Bank Limited and First Trustees Limited, intensified efforts to recover debts allegedly owed by her father's companies, Neconde Energy and Nestoil. The lenders claim the debt stands at more than $1.1 billion, 430 billion naira. Interestingly, Nigerian billionaire businessman Femi Otedola is the largest shareholder of FBN Holdings, the parent company of the lenders seeking to recover the funds. One thing history has shown us is that Otedola does not joke with his money. Since becoming group chairman of First Holdco PLC in January 2024, he has pushed for stronger loan recovery efforts against high-profile debtors. Supporters of the strategy argue that it has helped stabilize Nigeria's oldest bank, protect shareholder investment, and strengthen the institution's financial position. But Nnenna sees things differently. She believes Otedola is eyeing her family's prime real estate and using the system to get his hands on it. So, is there really a case of envy here, or is this simply a debt recovery battle between a bank and a borrower? Sit back and observe as we break down the full story.
What's good, guys? It's T-Code here for African Glitz.
Nestoil is a company that has been around for almost 32 years now. It was one of those first indigenous companies that decided to take the oil and gas service industry by the 90s, servicing the IOCs.
The Obi Jackson Group is a vast business empire with interests spanning several sectors through subsidiaries including Nestoil Limited and Neconde Energy Limited. Founded in 1991, Nestoil has grown into Nigeria's largest indigenous engineering, procurement, construction, and commissioning company within the oil and gas sector. The company is led by Group Managing Director and CEO Ernest Azudialu-Obiejesi, while his wife Nnenna Obiejesi serves as a Group Executive Director. Under their leadership, the business enjoyed significant success for many years.
So Nestoil's main focus is to support those local companies, or what we call the independent oil producers who are locals. Nigeria is one of the countries blessed with quite a lot of gas, and I strongly believe that there's quite a lot we still can do in the gas space.
However, challenges began mounting after a major acquisition in 2011. Through Neconde Energy, Nestoil acquired a 45% stake in Oil Mining Lease 42 for $585 million after Shell diverted the asset. To finance the acquisition, the company secured substantial loans from several banks. The plan appeared straightforward: increase production, generate revenue, and repay the loans. Sadly, things did not go as expected. Between 2011 and 2016, repeated militant attacks on the Trans-Forcado pipeline crippled production. At various points, output dropped to zero, while emergency operational costs consumed available resources. In 2019, following the renewal of OML 42's asset license for another 20 years, Neconde approached a bank consortium led by First Bank to restructure its existing debt. The various obligations were consolidated into a single facility worth about $640 million, yet production targets continued to fall short. Combined with the sharp devaluation of the naira over the years, the lenders now claim the debt has grown to approximately $1.1 billion and 430 billion naira. Industry pundits claim that the company's current operations are not generating enough cash flow to comfortably service the debt. After taxes, royalties, and operating expenses, only a limited amount remains available for repayment. Entrepreneur and lawyer Chukwudi Iwuchukwu has also argued that Nestoil is a poorly run company and that weak corporate governance contributed to the company's challenges. Nestoil disagrees. The company maintains that the figures being circulated are heavily inflated and insists it does not owe the amount being claimed. As disagreements over the debt continued, the lenders moved to recover the funds aggressively through the courts. In September 2025, FBN Quest Merchant Bank and First Trustees filed legal action against Neconde and Nestoil. The following month, a federal high court in Lagos granted a Mariva injunction freezing the company's accounts. The lenders also secured the appointment of a receiver manager who was authorized to take possession of Nestoil's Victoria Island headquarters and oversee their assets. The order further granted control over Neconde's interest in OML 42, which it operates jointly with NNPC Limited. However, allegations of favoritism and misconduct emerged during the proceedings. As a result, the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court reassigned the case to another judge. In November 2025, the Federal High Court lifted the Mariva injunction after ruling that it had expired. That victory was short-lived. The Court of Appeal later reinstated both the asset freeze and the receivership arrangement. It also barred Nestoil, Neconde and their representatives from obstructing the receiver manager pending the appeal process. After months of legal battles between January and April 2026, the matter reached the Supreme Court. On June 1, 2026, the Supreme Court nullified the Court of Appeal's order freezing the assets of Nestoil and Neconde. The Apex Court held that the Appellate Court exceeded the limits of its authority and misapplied the judicial process. In simple terms, Nestoil succeeded in overturning the asset freeze and preventing the overtake of its headquarters. That said, the wider dispute over the debt itself remains unresolved and is expected to return to the High Court. According to Chukwudi Iwuchukwu, the company may eventually need to dispose of major assets if it hopes to regain financial stability and rebuild. Following the Supreme Court ruling, Kenneth did not hide her excitement. The fashion influencer celebrated what she viewed as a major victory for her father's company and took direct aim at Otedola.
The Supreme Court has vacated the restorative order of the Court of Appeal against Nestoil Limited and its affiliate, Neconde Energy Limited, in a unanimous verdict delivered by Justice Stephen Jonah Ada.
In this matter are Nestoil Limited and Neconde Energy Limited, while the respondents are First Bank, Quest Merchant Bank Limited, First Trustees Limited. This legal tussle arose out of the restorative order which the Court of Appeal Lagos Division gave on 27th November 2025. The Intermediate Court restored the control of the company's assets and operations to a receiver manager appointed by a consortium of lenders. This was what the appellant brought to the Supreme Court for adjudication. The Apex Court resolved all the two grounds of appeal in favor of the appellant.
Any ex parte injunction restraining the parties, especially the business enterprise of Nestoil and Neconde, from continuing with their work. So that's the implication of the Supreme Court. And I think the Supreme Court has already done justice, especially warning judicial misuse of ex parte injunctions.
With this verdict, the litigants are to go back to the trial court to litigate on the substantive issues.
In one post, she questioned his understanding of legacy. The last thing I will address. A legacy is not by posting riding bikes overseas and paying blogs every week false info to publicize wealth that is common. LOL. Its impact on the country, the people, and lives. The real legacies don't ask to be written about. People beg for their stories for years to come. She wrote, Kenneth also accused Otedola of attempting to use political influence to secure ownership of the Nestoil headquarters in Victoria Island. The influencer argued that her family built its success from the ground up and suggested Otedola should have focused on learning from them rather than writing a book. How do you explain to your children that you saw someone else's building and wanted it so bad you wasted your time manipulating the political systems to try and take it, but still lost? What a joke. If you like something so much, the time spent in launching books, Why not use it to learn how the people who actually make it from scratch did it? We are and have always been confident because we don't take or envy what belongs to others. We build our own with dedication, time, hard work, and most importantly, prayer. She wrote, "Can I also express gratitude for our family's journey and resilience?" Is this about envy? Some may ask. Well, looking at the dispute from a business perspective, Chukwudi Iwuchukwu argues that jealousy is unlikely to be the driving force behind the situation. For starters, Otedola is the fourth richest man in Nigeria and far richer than Obi Jackson. According to Iwuchukwu, the issue centers on recovering loans that have weighed heavily on First Bank's balance sheet. The lawyer claims the bank was unable to pay dividends to shareholders this year and had to write off hundreds of billions of naira in bad loans, many linked to forbearance arrangements involving large borrowers. Iwuchukwu also points out that Otedola has personal experience with debt crisis. During the global financial downturn in 2008, Otedola reportedly faced debt exposure exceeding $1.2 billion. To settle those obligations, the billionaire embarked on extensive asset sales, including properties, company shares, and investments across multiple sectors. Otedola sold 184 flats and significant shares in Intercontinental Bank, Transcorp Hilton, Visaphone, Chevron, Mobil, and others.
My debt was about $1.2 billion. So the banks also had to take a haircut.
Yes.
Of course, good for them for their carelessness and greed. So they took the haircut. So they sold the debt to Amcon for I think about $800 million. So they took the shave of about $400 million. So I was left with a debt of $400 million. So I sat with Amcon and said, listen, Amcon did offer me restructuring. And I insisted no. I didn't want the restructuring. I wanted to pay the debts and move on and start my life again. So they got reputable firms to value my assets. And then I think I had about 100 and, okay, let me just in the context of properties, in measure it in flats, I think we had about 184 flats, which I gave up. I was the largest investor in Nigeria in the banking sector, which I gave up.
So you gave up a lot of shares in banks?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, the major banks in Nigeria. In fact, I remember vividly that the central bank governor then did call me and said, what's the strategy? You have all these shares in all these banks. Then, of course, Africa Finance Corporation was a major shareholder. I was the chairman of Transcorp Hilton. I was the second largest shareholder in Mobil, Oil Nigeria Limited, second largest shareholder in Chevron Texaco, Visaphone, several companies. So I gave up everything. They valued everything and I decided to give up everything.
So by the time you literally relinquished all of that that you had accumulated, what was you left with?
I was left with my house in Ikoyi, my house in Abuja, my office on the Walter Carrington, and my 37% stake in African Petroleum.
By the time the process ended, much of his business empire had been sold. Otedola only had a house and office in Lagos, a house in Abuja, and a 39% stake in AP. Yet, the businessman eventually rebuilt his fortune and returned to the top ranks of Nigerian business. From this perspective, Iwuchukwu believes Otedola's actions are motivated by financial discipline rather than personal rivalry. It's not personal, just about the money. As expected, social media users have been deeply divided over the ongoing dispute. One user wrote, "People forget that when billionaires refuse to pay what they owe, it's the everyday customers' savings that hang in the balance. We've seen banks collapse in this country because of bad debts. Otedola pulling the plugs and recovering these funds is what keeps the bank safe." Another user shared a more cynical view. 95% of the top A-list Naija billionaires made it via forceful takeovers, frolicking with corruption and corrupt politicians, shortchanging the government and cheating Nigerians. They are not to be envied, loved or supported. Now bad people them be. Another commented, make your papa pay bank waiting the hole. First bank is after your father, not Otedola. Your father should be wise enough to ask you to drop that shit post because the case is still in court. One commenter lamented, Obi Jackson, the owner of Nestoil, is a terrible debtor. Anyone in the oil and gas industry is aware of this. When I first graduated and was seeking a job, people with experience said no matter the amount, don't work there. You can work for 6 months without pay. Another user added, you want to rent an office space in the Nestoil building at Ikoyi? It is $500,000 yearly. It is strategically located. The bank knows what they want. Tell us guys, do you still think Otedola is trying to grab Obi Jackson's building as his daughter claimed? Or would you say he's simply trying to recover money owed to the bank? Who do you think is winning this battle so far? Obi Jackson's Nestoil or Otedola's First Bank?
Let's head to the comment section to share our opinion. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share with your loved ones. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can be notified when we drop a new video. Thanks for watching. It's Tikkud here, and I'll see you again soon.